All right, click the links. Join channel here over at Subscribestar. Are you guys ready for the Feminist Adventures? Frankly, no, and I don't think there's an audience out there for this kind of material. Well, that's great. We're gonna make it anyway. But you guys actually have a kind of a long list of movies. Not even starting with Ghostbusters 2016. I think Ocean's 8 did that lose money? I think so. And then, X Women, and then the Terminator Feminist Edition. Birds of Prey, Margot Robbie. There's a couple of Eternals, and it was kind of a mixed bag. There was one other chick-led film, but there's like a half a dozen of these movies, and I think they've either all lost money or underperformed. Why are you still doubling down on these movies? Listen, bigot. Yeah, I get that ad hominem aside, but these movies aren't finding an audience, and you're still doing it. Well, here's the thing: it's not about the money, and you tell people this, and I know using the word normie upsets people. It just means people who are like not wanting to look beyond their preconceived notions of, oh, this is just a corporation. It's going to follow logic and reason and return on investment. No, these people drink baby blood and sacrifice souls to Moloch. They have hyperbole, yeah, but it's if you think about them figuratively in that regard, I mean, they do visit islands. That's closer to reality than to think of them with your logical, straight-ahead analysis of, stock market portfolio type of stuff. That's not why they make these movies, clearly. This is way, way beyond profits and losses, and you can hear me, I'm not crazy. You don't have to have a tinfoil hat to look at this and go, okay, there's something on. This is like some kind of cultural movement. It's like a religion for these people, and there's some bishop is banning a comics article talking about how that's what Bolshevism is. They got rid of Christianity, they got rid of Euro-paganism, so they clued into this other secular religion. It's just a belief system, something to get behind, because I guess the human soul abhors a vacuum, so they need something to get some kind of Jim Jones cult. They got to be a part of something, even if it's something as cringy as Bolshevism. So when did this stuff all accelerate? Well, Trump derangement syndrome in 2016, that's absolutely real. Then the Wu flu and the BLM Antifa riots of 2020, and now all this stuff is just kind of mask off woke. Sorry for kitty posting, but that cat was adorable. And I remember people saying for the Fandom Menace channels that this would be great because they can monetize it. But I look at that intermittent chicken feeding experiment where, the chicken has to get a certain amount of food to keep clicking the button. You can Google that. And I wonder about the future of these channels where everything coming out is woke cancer. Hey, look, another historical reimagining where history is inverted and every good character is black and every antagonist is blonde. Stunning and brave. Oh, I mean, that's like every movie. Listen, Hugo Boss, yeah, I get the ad hominem, but that is really every movie. Surely, at some point, people are going to have to start checking out of Hollywood. Well, hope springs eternal. This chick did a great job. Fair enough to her, but you can't do the heavy lifting with one kind of funny, lighthearted character, and then you had two straight man characters with Monica Rambeau and Captain Marvel. That didn't work. It's like the Monica Rambeau character. Like, why are you here? You can't get rid of Brie Larson because she's the star of the show, but she's the straight man. Okay, we're gonna follow that up with a trilogy with two straight man characters. That's not how chemistry works. And I mean, just the idea of having three chicks in an action adventure when there's like 8 movies over the past 15 years with 3 chicks in action adventure. Hey, how well did Charlie's Angels do? Oh, well, all those movies actually lost money, so we're gonna make another one. That's insane. But like I say, this isn't like these. Yes, these are publicly traded companies, but no, they're not behaving with your logical overlay of, oh, well, if I was in charge of these companies, I'd just make entertainment that would connect with an audience. And there's some artistic expression there for sure, but it's mostly about return on investment, shareholder profits, and dividend. No, these people, they have I was going to say higher calling, but it's really a lower calling, and that's not hyperbole. This is a religion to these people. But, unfortunately, you get on Twitter, and there are a lot of people who are still subscribed to Disney Plus. I know people who are subscribed to Disney Plus, and they know it's degeneracy too, and they just kind of like, oh, well, it's, whatever. It's just, they just want to have some kind of distraction from the harsh, cruel reality of existence. So they might be looking at the Marvels, the big screen version, and pass on paying for the theater experience, and they'll watch it on Disney Plus. And honestly, I think if anything's going to destroy Hollywood, it's going to be the streaming services, because there's a psychological phenomenon I myself has noticed that when you watch something in the big screen, you're going to give it a higher rating because you're immersed in something and you don't have distractions, where if you're watching it at home, with me, it's on a cell phone or a tablet or something. It's just not the same experience, no matter how good your sound system is. I actually have a really cool Bluetooth speaker somebody gave me. Um, it's just not the same. Theater is a way better experience, even if you hate leaving the house. Sometimes, if you really want to evaluate a movie, I think you have to go to the theater experience to watch it. Thanks to Vegan, pay for the tickets for these. I do enjoy the movies. It's not. I mean, the movies are stupid, but it's something to be in the big theater as long as the movie is somewhat palatable, like the Marvels was. I mean, it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's not. It's not. It's really not. I mean, I was gonna say it's not worth spending $15 to $20 for it, and which is what a whole lot of people agreed with me. So the thing is, there's a lot of soy boys out there who still kind of watch this kind of propaganda and they think it's worth paying for. I can't wrap my head around how they think Disney is worth any amount of money. So the Marvels came out and it did not do well, which means obviously the next thing to do is get 3 more vaginas of color because they didn't learn a lesson from the Marvels. It wasn't the worst movie, but it was not worth $15. Honestly, a lot of these movies are, if you have a half off day, which actually local theaters around my area do have a half off day where it's like $7 a ticket. It's like, okay, fine. If you want to keep up on the continuity of this universe, I guess that would be $7 would be worth paying for this stuff. But realizing that the movies still have to return an investment is a problem for Disney because they don't seem to want to realize that, and they're a business with shareholders, and they don't seem to act like they're a business. So keep in mind, this image on screen is from 2012. Oh, it was a whole different movie going environment. There was sorry, I'll cut off your head. That was a whole different, there was a different energy because Iron Man was 2008. It was still fresh. Like people knew it was silly and they were willing to accept it. And now it's 10 years, 12 years later, it's just too silly, and they double down on woke, and people are not on board the ride. They're looking for something else. So the problem is these are billion-dollar IPs, and they're gonna have to take it in a different direction, but they're woke and they don't want to take it in a different direction, so they got their work cut out for them. The audience has kind of moved on, and the actors aged out of the roles, which is fine. You just replace them, but Disney has to race and sex swap everyone because that's what they are. This Moloch worshipping blood drinkers. But people are not fungible, so the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Captain America can't just be replaced with a black guy. Hey, replace Thor with a black guy. We're going to make the Norse pantheon, but it's going to have like Africans and Chinese and Indians, but it's a Norse religion for the Norse people. What are you, some kind of istophobe? You wouldn't do that with any other religion, would you? This is for the Scandinavian people, the Norse pantheon, just like the Mediterranean has a pantheon. Yeah, well, we're gonna put people who are not in that religion. That's really insulting when you think about it. Why would these people be in this? I mean, that was the stupidest part of Thor, where you get into their Asgard or something. So why are there people who are not from that region? It's kind of iffy to say that can't go too into this on YouTube, but you know what I'm saying. As an adult, you watch that. It's painfully stupid, and it's so insulting because there's people who still practice those religions today. In fact, the Norse stuff is actually growing. I think the Satire is related to that. So people are not fungible, just like the inverse is true. Would you have the Black Panther and replace him with a German character? And then when you get into that discussion on social media, you find out how much these people hate you because race matters to them, but they don't respect that it matters to everyone. They go, oh, well, it's not important to the story. It is, because it's the core of every story. It flows out from your DNA, from your tribalism. Everything is downstream from that core of who you are, which is your DNA and your tribe and ethnicity and your environment. It's the core of every story, but it somehow magically matters to them, but it doesn't matter to the European people for some reason. It's like, well, it matters to everyone. And, a lot of these people you're arguing with are not arguing it in good faith. So a great example is Kirby's Eternals, which replaced all the blonde Aryan gods who were literally, blonde hair, blue eyed, which is kind of Kirby really went over the top with that, with fat, ugly people who are very much not European. I think he had 250-year-old women. They look great. They did fine in the roles with Selma Hayek and Angelina Jolie, I think, and then the other actors, I don't even remember the names. I remember one guy was the Asian character was about 300 pounds, and one girl had a disability. And I think like, wait, these are like carbon-based computers, space gods who were molded in some kind of organic supercomputer type of thing, if I remember right. They can be anything they want. They'd be at the peak of physical fitness and health. And the way Kirby envisioned that was blonde hair, blue eye, which is kind of funny. But why wouldn't you honor his original artistic vision? And then for the storyline, why would you have some guy who's 50 pounds overweight and you got a couple people who are in their 40s and 50s? And there's not, I mean, they're very, like Angelina Jolie and Selma Hayek are in their 50s and they're very physically fit. But you'd be at your peak would be like 20. Why wouldn't you pick, 18, 19, 20 where you're at the peak of everything? Oh, well, and they don't have an answer to that because they're woke, and that's why they hate the word woke, and they're probably going to try to banish it, like they banished the bundle of sticks words and the developmentally disabled words, because those words are great umbrella terms that sum things up so well. So they do this because they're making globalist propaganda. They don't give a rat's tail about Kirby or Stan Lee, or they don't care about anything but pushing this replacement of characters. They do it in everything. Okay, what was that movie with the little guy? With Val Kilmer was in the movie. I can't remember the name of that damn thing. Where they race swapped all the characters, and I mean, they do it in all the streaming shows. I think The Witcher they did it with. It's like set in Poland, but they race swapped everyone. Or Rings of Power was the most egregious example. And how well did the Amazon $750 million project do? It's like, oh, it's not doing too well. But to be fair to Amazon, it can lose money and they don't care. That's how much Amazon makes in shipping. So this is all globalist propaganda. They don't care about anything but the classic bait and switch, where you know the names and you know the characters. Oh, Lord of the Rings, or oh, Disney's the Marvels, and you think, oh, Marvel Comics from everything in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, kind of the peak. And then you go to these movies, you're like, what the hell is this? And then you go to modern Marvel comic books, you go, oh, I guess I'll try to maybe get my kid involved in some Spider-Man or something. And then you show them the modern Marvel comics, like, oh, this is not, I don't want my kid reading this. Let's go back to the classics. So that's the bait and switch. It's the Marxist deconstruction and systemic subversion and corruption of these these parasites is what they do, where they swap out all the characters for diversity of vaginas and non-European characters, but nobody wants to see that. There's just not enough of an audience out there who want to see what is nothing more than thinly disguised propaganda. And Istaphobe says what? It's not just me saying this. The people are not turning up to pay for these movies. It's better that someone is trying to be as honest as you can be within the allowable tolerances of YouTube, which is not very good. I can understand if you want to go for a younger audience. But you're not going to get, and they're going for this non-white female audience that wants to see Mary Sue's involved in action-adventure movies. That's not what the tweens and the teenage girls are on board with, and that's not what a big screen movie is really going to showcase and get your money out of a $150 million movie. These are boys' stories for boys' adventure type of stuff. You can go for a streaming show, and the action-adventure romance, action-adventure doesn't sell on its own. It has to have something else to sell to girls. And you're not going to sell to boys because little boys don't want to see girls in these roles. And in fact, girls don't want to see girls in these roles because, as I mentioned, those dozen movies that have come out have not connected with an audience, and they keep doubling down. The audience doesn't exist for what they're trying. Oh, well, we'll grow the audience. But you've been doing it for like 20 years and you haven't grown the audience. And you destroy the comic book industry. Men don't want to see females in these roles, and neither do women. And people in general do not like to see diversity. Just be clear about this. The feminist girl power and diversity don't sell, and people vote silently with your wallet. But if more people were honest on social media, it would showcase that Hollywood doesn't care about entertainment or making money. Like I said, Moloch, blood drinking. A thing I was thinking about when I saw the Marvels is it's got a lot of CGI fight scenes, and I was comparing it on my nightly walks to the 77 Star Wars and practical effects, because they had to, but they did amazing jobs and fewer fight scenes. The difference was they focused on the story and likable characters, especially the New Hope Star Wars, that first 77 Star Wars movie. Kind of track that thing through your head and think about how quick the scenes were, and the backgrounds and the settings and the story development and the characters. Luke and his uncle and aunt, it sets up the story for for Ben to help him get off planet with Han Solo, and introduces the characters, and they were little action scenes, but think how understated they were and how fast they were. They go to the wretched sky hive of scum and villainy, the cantina, and there was two quick action scenes because you're using practical effects, so it's just a flash of an eye. Ben has his lightsaber out, and it's turned off and put away, and that shows you how fast he is, even though he's in his 60s. And Han shot first. He's got that scene with his boots up on the table. It's just a blip of a scene. It shows you how quick these things happen, and they had to do it because it's 77. But it also, necessity is the mother of invention or something. It shows you how amazing those scenes, like that movie is iconic. The whole trilogy is iconic. And then you look at these CGI messes they come up with now, and it's just ephemeral and fleeting and as amorphous as fog. It roll, that was another good movie. Was that with Jamie Lee Curtis? The 80s, The Fog, I think. Great movie. I think the pirate thing came in. What a great movie that was. And I think they did a remake of it. Where's it going with this? But there's like these classic movies that stick with you, and then there's this modern CGI Ant-Man type of movies. Anything really by Disney. You watch it. A week later, a month later, people ask you about the movie. You're like, oh, yeah, what was the plot of that movie? And I struggle to remember because they just don't stick with me, where I could tell you about I could tell you about these iconic movies from the 70s and 80s because they focused on the story. And obviously in 77, you're limited with CGI. But then you compare the insane amount of CGI in stuff like Captain Marvel, or this is Ant-Man 3, I think, where everything's a green room and the CGI maps itself over it. And it sucks. You can do anything you want with computers, and they spent $275 million, or it cost $275 million, but the actors didn't have any chemistry together. They got a tax credit from England for like $40 million, but the audience did not want to see women at all, and they definitely don't want to see POC women. It's just, I know if you're a soy boy, panty sniffing pussy, fat basement dweller who's not touching grass, you hear that and you pretend to get offended so you can virtue signal on social media about all this kind of stuff. You're not offended, and it's like stop involving emotion in all this. Just look at the audience. The audience is not showing up for these movies. So it's like the person, the ad hominem and the personal attack to the person shooting the messenger, going for the messenger. It's like, just look at the reality of these movies. You're trying to sell this globalist propaganda, and people are not on board with it. So by all means, double down. I hope Hollywood burns itself out, because it really is. Hollywood's the wretched hive of scum and villainy. It's kind of funny that the alternative concept of is just haram. If someone wanted to put three girls in something and write a story with just three European girls and a European cast, and see how well that would work, like Lord of the Rings, that was probably the last good movies to come out of Hollywood. The movie just wouldn't get funded, which is funny because it would be successful. But they don't want that juxtaposition of successful movies with one tribe of people in them. And you don't see that in Hollywood. Nobody ever kind of scratches their head and goes, wait a minute, let's step back and look at what Hollywood is presenting us. Leave the Matrix for a second and look at what is on screen. And you just don't see that. You know what? I'll probably leave that at here, because the rest of this kind of gets into German people living in some Aryan, Hyperborean, hidden, super advanced civilization in Africa or South America. It's on the rest of it's on Rumble and Odyssey, but YouTube is really kind of funny about a lot of hot words. Like, they don't take the context; they just hear hot words, which is why you got to be careful talking about colors and religions and all these kind of words, and you just get on YouTube's wrong side, and it sucks. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks to Mr. Nature, Vegan, LG, and everyone else who's been sending me cool little pocket knives and whatnot, and the computer from Nature. And I will see you guys all next episode.